Welcome to the Real Ref Report, a fun approach to improving officiating.
You suck, ref!
Keeping it real with real perspectives, educating the wrestling community, and building better relationships between officials, coaches, and wrestlers. Together, let's make reffing great again. Now, here's your host, Andy Eichley.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Real Ref Report. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about this episode, actually. I got a really cool, a lot of really cool guests. I got Bob Turner back, and this is just one of those things, we talk about needing officials all the time, and, it's hard to say how to get officials. It's hard to figure out how to retain officials. It's hard to find out, do we need young officials? Do we need old officials? Do we need middle-aged? What age? And I just want to highlight today what Bob Turner is doing in his association, how he's recruiting officials and how he's bringing them up. And, a lot of associations out there, it's not a priority. We say it's a priority, but we're just not doing the things that Bob Turner is doing. So I want to just real quick, Bob Turner, friend of the show. If you've been watching, he's been great. He's such a book of information. I mean, he's by the book, Bob, and he's got so much knowledge of information. One of the coolest things I think about him is a family man. He has been a West Point graduate. He pilot. I mean, this guy has done it all. And I'm sure if he's not, I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame or not, but he should be, and he will be when it's all said and done. So welcome to the show, Bob Turner. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Andy. First thing, congratulations. Your son qualified for state, and your other one is an alternate. So what a great achievement for your family.
Yeah, I'm proud of them. They're doing a great job. And, they're even more amazing kids. They both get all A's and just do all the right things. And so it's been fun. Thank you. Okay, so Bob, we have a few guests on today, and I just want to, I got a quick video I'm going to show in a second of the things that you're doing. But can you just talk a little bit about what your goals are, what you do to recruit officials, who you recruit? Are you recruiting 40-year-olds? Are you recruiting, some people say we want to find guys who are girls who are, already settled in life because they're not going to leave, or, what age, and do you have a target? And just talk about a little bit about your philosophy and what you're doing to get that done.
Sure. So, everyone in all sports, this isn't just wrestling. It's not just in the state of Washington. It's all over the nation. It's every sport. We are trying to work as hard as we can to attract people to officiate and to stay, right? Nobody grows up as an athlete saying, boy, my dream in life is to become a referee. Their dream in life is to win the gold medal in the Olympics, to win the NCAA championship, to win a state title or whatever, like not to be a referee, but so.
Or maybe be a coach. I hear that a lot.
Coaches, more of them aspire to that. So the thing is, who do we recruit? Well, I recognize that 98% of the wrestlers in our state will not compete in the sport of wrestling after they graduate from high school. That's just fact. Okay. Mm-hmm. In all the other sports, I do volleyball. 92% won't play after high school. So in every sport, 90+% are not going to be competing beyond high school. Those are our future officials. They know the sport. They love it. Obviously, they've given themselves over to it while they were in high school. So that's my primary target. I believe that it's harder to recruit people who are in the middle of life, because at that point they're in career jobs. They may have family of their own. They have a lot of responsibilities. And when you ask them to try to drop this into their life, it's very hard to make space to be gone for several evenings a week, all day Saturday for, November through February. So that's a steep hill to climb. But when you look at the young people who just come out of high school, they don't have those same things, right? They don't have kids to take to piano or to go to soccer games, or they don't have projects around the house, or they don't have to worry about trying to get promoted at their career job. Like, they have a lot more space. And so that's my primary target, is those people that are graduating from high school. We should retain some amount of them. And I'm talking about every sport. Like, I talk to my fellow volleyball officials, like, what happens to all these girls that play volleyball? Like, I officiate volleyball here in the state of Washington. Boys volleyball is not a thing. It's not a high school thing.
Mm-hmm.
But more than 50% of the people I officiate with are men.
Mm.
So what happened to all the ex-volleyball players, the girls in our state? So, here in wrestling, that's my primary target. And we have what I call our Fountain of Youth program, where I actively work with the coaches, and I give them a to-do at the beginning of the season. I go to their league meetings, and I tell them, I want you to talk to your graduating seniors about this. I want you to encourage them, because you're, in some sense, you're like a second mom or dad to them. And if you say something to them, they don't aspire to be referees. But if you say, you know what, have you thought about being a referee? Like, you really are smart, or you really love this, I think you could be a good referee. They might be interested. So I just say, you talk to them. Any of them that don't, just shoot it down right away. Back at you in 2 weeks, and I want their names, and then I'll take it from there. And then I have the opportunity after the high school season ends. We have 6 middle school leagues that are about to get kicked off here in February and March, that I can recruit high school seniors, not just seniors, but high school wrestlers, train them up to be officials, and then they do the middle school. And so the guests that you're going to see on this podcast today, they're all graduates of that program. And the goal is, let's capture them. Let's give them a good experience. And then some of them, if they have a good experience, they'll stay with it.
Yeah. So I think you're doing a great job of, I think some of the stigma is I remember when I was in high school, or even as a coach, I call it kind of the dark side of the officials are the dark side, and we're the not, and so as a coach, you're kind of against officials. Even if you're a high schooler, you're kind of like, oh, that official screwed me over, or all of this. And they don't really, like you said, aspire to become an official. So one of my goals, and what you're doing well, is trying to help get people to come. And in our state, you're doing the best job that I know of. And I think it'd be great if you kind of, we're overseer of the whole state, and getting all these associations kind of doing some of the things you're doing. But before we introduce some of our guests today, I want to play this video that Bob has made. And this is just, he sent me this, and I'm like, I already thought Bob was a great official, great guy, all the things. And I'm like, how can he get any better? Well, here we go. This guy is bringing up young officials, and he is highlighting them, and he is having a new class every year. So I want to show you this video. If you're listening on podcasts, maybe to take a look at this video some other time, but this is just so cool to me, what you're doing, Bob.
Let me preface this with one thing before you play it as well, Andy, is that what you're about to see in this video, these people, as they're performing, they maybe have officiated 1 or 2 weeks in their life. So just keep that in mind as you watch how they perform.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Here we go.
You always ask what it's all about. Don't listen to my replies. You say to me, I don't talk enough, but when I do, I'm a fool. These times I spent, I've realized you shoot through and leave you. The things you say, your past just give you away. The things you say, you're unbelievable. Tell me more about mine. I'm always so concerned with the way you say you always have to stop to think first. Be one is smart than I ever know. But this time I realize I'm gonna shoot through and leave you. The things you say, your purpose just give you away. The things you say, you're unbelievable. Pushing down the reticence, bringing out your high self, figure the fine sign, pushing down the better view instead of bringing the attitudes to one, the world, and have to pick your attitude, brace yourself, with the grace of peace, I'm You burden me with your questions. You have to tell no lies. You'll always ask what it's all about. So listen to my reply. You say to me I don't talk enough, but when I do, I'm a fool. These times I've spent, I've realized you should really and leave you. The things you say, your platforms just give you away. The things you say is what I love you more. The things you say, your platforms just give you away. The things you say, you're unbelievable. You're so unbelievable. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
Oh wow, that was awesome, Bob. So cool, man. I mean, you're really doing a good. I mean, I've said it so many times, but can you? I was thinking of one question while I watched that, and can you? You know, a lot of the naysayers that say, "Oh, we don't want the young kids because they leave," you know, and they go somewhere else. And I remember you had told me one time in another podcast, you know, that doesn't bother you because hey, they're officiating somewhere, right? And so two of our guests right now are not even in our state, but you're still connected with them. And so can you kind of talk to people that think, oh well, I don't want to recruit these kids because they're going to leave?
Yeah. So that it's true. Some of them do leave, and that's the cost of doing business. But like you said, I'm happy that Arizona has Jacob Henderson, who you're going to introduce officiating for them. I'm happy that Vermont has Caitlin Collette. Like, I'm happy. Someday somebody will send me a varsity level official who's like 18 years old. It'll happen, but until it does, like, I'm happy to provide, you know, varsity level officials like Evan Lee down in Arizona. You've worked with Evan.
Yes. And he's now officiating at Freak Show. And I just looked at the list for Freak Show and he had 5 people check him off as one of the top guys. And so that is another testament to you.
Evan's 20 years old. So Evan's one of the guys who was class of 2024 as well.
Well, so, I had to check myself because if you remember, Evan Lee, you sent him to do 1A regionals when he was actually still in high school. And I was like, what are we doing here? This Bob Turner guy, I don't know him. He's sending us a high school kid who's, I was like, is this even legal? Because he's not even like, he's in high school and he's reffing a high school region. And of course, you know, I was like, well, if Bob Turner's doing it, he knows the rules. So, and then Evan was maybe the best official we had there. I mean, everybody was like, we were all worried, like, okay, we're going to have to babysit. No, Evan was legit and he still is. So yeah, that's cool.
So this is a Bob Turner kind of problem. Last Sunday, I was training up our high schoolers for this year's crop, right? And I was training like 15 high school kids. And in the group, I had a 7th grader.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, am I that bold?
So speaking of that, do you know what is the Washington State rule? Like, how old does a kid have to be to officiate a high school match, or is there an age limit?
There is no age limit. As I asked the head of the Washington Officials Association this last week about this, because I had this 7th grader. I go, okay, well, even I'm sort of a little bit hesitant about the idea of a 7th grader officiating other 7th and 8th graders. So he's like, well, you know, it's up to you, your association. You can make that decision. Like, if you're willing to stand behind the person, like, you know, they do the training and they qualify. Like, there you go.
Oh, that's so awesome. All right. Well, at this point, I want to introduce our guest today so we can kind of get some information and get some experiences from some of your proteges. I mean, first up, I'm going to introduce Jacob Henderson. Jacob, go ahead and tell us who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. As you said, I'm Jacob Henderson. I graduated from Kent Lake High School last year. I wrestled there all 4 years. This is my second year as a varsity official. As Bob mentioned earlier, I'm currently in Arizona. I've been officiating down here a little bit, and attending Embry-Riddle Aeronautical. So
That's awesome. Well, welcome to the show, bud. Thanks for being on.
thank you.
Next up,
And just
Caitlin.
before you move up, Jacob is another guy. He did a league tournament last year as a senior in high school. He was injured, couldn't finish his senior season. He officiated the last few weeks of the season, then did a league tournament for us as a senior in high school and did a great job. You
Wow.
worked with Evan at the Kentwood JV tournament last year.
Oh wow,
Yep.
yeah, that's awesome. Caitlin, Colette, is it Colette?
It's Colette, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Um,
Tell us a little bit
yes.
about yourself.
Definitely. I'm Caitlin. I'm from the Seattle area. I graduated from Roosevelt High School in 2024. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Vermont, and I'm studying public health and nutrition and food science here.
And you just came back to Washington this last weekend to ref, is that right?
This upcoming weekend, I'll be back.
Okay, very
When,
cool.
when Jacob and Caitlin come back from their Christmas break, they officiate for us here in Seattle. And I give them a boatload of work. Like I want these young people to make a few $1,000 literally in the few weeks they're home for Christmas, and they do.
Wow, that's so cool. And then next up we have, last but not least, Leslie. Leslie, go ahead and tell us a little about yourself and where you're from and all that.
Yeah, so my name is Leslie. I graduated from Federal Way High School, and I wrestled there all my 3 years. COVID happened, so couldn't do it my freshman year. But yeah, I currently go to the University of Washington, Seattle, and I'm a sophomore, and I study public health. But yeah, and I've been doing the high school season for about 2 years now.
Okay, very cool. All right, so let's start. I'll start with you, Jacob. Tell me what got you interested in officiating, and was there anyone who encouraged you to do it?
Yeah, so I've actually been like technically an official for probably about 10 years. I was doing it for my city recreational league for a while, doing soccer and basketball, stuff like that, the rec leagues. And then my junior year, my coach came up to me and he was just like, "Hey, like you seem to know what you're doing. You know a lot about the sport. Like, do you want to give it a try?" So he gave my contact to Bob, and so from there, now we're here.
Awesome, very cool. How about you, Caitlin? What got you interested in officiating?
Yeah, I honestly, my senior year of high school, I was just so devastated that I was going to be done with wrestling. I was like, I need to find a way to stay involved with the sport. I took some like random online course that was definitely not an actual like certification. And I told my coach about it, and he was like, "You're doing all the wrong things. Here's what you got to do. You got to email Bob Turner." And so I did that and then got involved that way.
Wow, that's cool. So you kind of like got self-interested before anybody said, "Hey, you should do this."
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Very
Well,
cool.
one other the Caitlin after you went through my training, right? Like
Mhm.
she was like a lot of people. It was kind of rough, that first training session. Tell them what your coach Justin Kwan did there at Roosevelt.
Yeah, so Taya and I Taya is another official, and she and I went to the same high school and went through the program together. And after the mat training, we were both kind of feeling a little bit shaky, like we needed to keep practicing our technique and such. And we told our coaches the whole way along that we were doing it. And we also had a pretty small team, and it was like our last week of practices. And we were like, "Can we practice officiating?" And the coaches were like, "Yeah, I guess." And so we just had these crazy matches where it was like our two coaches wrestling each other, throwing out the most wild moves, doing crazy things to see how we'd react as practicing officials.
That's a good idea. Maybe
It was
beyond,
good.
you go from your back to getting a reversal. Now you got them on their back, and now you got all these sequences that are difficult to get in order. But that's a good idea.
It was definitely helpful.
And then Leslie, tell us a little bit about what got you interested in officiating and who encouraged you to do it.
Yeah, I remember it was just a random tournament, and I remember I was thinking, how did they get these jobs? Like, it was just I was so bored. I was like, what are they doing? Like, these are the most like, how did they find this job? Like, it's not like on anything online.
Right.
So I asked my assistant coach, and he was like, they actually make pretty good money. And I was like, oh, really? And after that, I was just thinking about it. I was like, how do you get this job? Like, I was thinking about it for weeks and weeks. And then finally, my coach, he was like, oh, Bob Turner, he's doing this Zoom call for to get to know if you want to be a ref or not. And I was like, wait, I really want to do this. So me and a couple other of my teammates, unfortunately, they don't do this anymore, but we went to the Zoom call, and then we just heard all about what it means to be a ref. And I was like, I'm willing to do this.
That's awesome. Yeah. For anybody out there that's wondering, Washington, we do get paid pretty nicely to be an official. I mean, as we get older, guys like me and Bob probably aren't doing it for the money or worried about the money too much, but it is nice. Actually, my wife gets to get most of it for her fun trips while I'm out doing my thing. So
a couple of quick notes. Like I said, I think last year, Caitlin, she made more than she did this year. For whatever reason, we had less stuff scheduled during the Christmas break in Seattle. I think she made almost $3,000 last year in the almost 4 weeks she was home at Christmas. So there is real money. And to Leslie's point, last year, the first tournament of the season I was officiating was the Skyline Dual Meet tournament. So before the last round of dual meets, I went over to the center of the 4 mats in the gym, and I blew my whistle. I go, hey, who are my graduating seniors? Like, seniors, get over here. So for all the 8 teams, there was about 25 seniors surrounding me. And so I said, how many of you, raise your hand if when you get on the bus after this tournament ends, somebody's going to give you a check for $350. No.
Yeah.
See everybody wearing this gray uniform? All of them will.
Yeah. Yeah. And for a high school and college student, that's great. I mean, anything helps, and you're not going to make that much doing minimum, whatever job you're doing. It's a great gig, and I have fun doing it, and I'm hoping you guys do too. But let's go to the next one here. I want to talk about all of you. How you were feeling when you first went out there? Because I know even I started officiating when I was almost in my late 30s, and so obviously when you first time doing anything, you're a little bit nervous, and so of course you're nervous. You're not sure if how it's going to go, but it's probably double or triple if you're 18, 17, 19 years old, whatever. So Jacob, talk a little bit about, do you remember your first time officiating and what that was like?
Yeah, so actually my first match was at Mapleview Middle School. I'm from the Tahoma High School area. And so it was kind of nerve-wracking. I'm like, this is Tahoma's feeder program. So I was like, this is almost high school JV level already. And so I remember I was nervous about it. I forget who they were competing against. But I mean, the coaches were great. They helped me out the whole time. They helped me. They coached me up. They understood. They knew that I was new. I was young. And so, I mean, the coaches too, I give Bob all the credit, but some of the coaches deserve some credit too, because those middle school coaches really understand the nerves that we're going through also. And so they help us to understand there's really nothing scary about it.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because a lot of coaches are part of the issue of why people don't want to do it anymore. So it's good to hear your experience of they're helping you out. So if you're a coach out there, especially middle school or even high school, and you got a young official, just please let's be good to them. Let's encourage them and tell them the good things. And you can coach them up a little bit, but man, let's be good to them and make them want to stay, because we clearly need them. How about you, Caitlin? Same question. Do you remember your first time, and what was that like?
Yeah, so my first assignment was a middle school jamboree style tournament. And I remember being very anxious about it. And I also had forgotten my shoes and my belt. So I was like, already, I'm not doing a great job. I'm out of uniform. Crap, this is not off to a great start. But kind of the nice thing about a jamboree style tournament at the middle school level is that kind of nobody has a coach there really in their corner. There's not you're not really using a timer. There's nobody really keeping score for you. And if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. The kids don't really know what's going on. The coaches aren't there hassling you. You sort of have to figure it out for yourself. which I think is a nice feeling as a new official. And then after that, my first dual meet experience felt like a lot less pressure because I sort of already had some of that experience at that kind of lower stakes level, which I think was a really nice way to sort of ease into it.
Yeah, that's our little jamborees too. We usually have 4 mats going, and the officials are not the main event, right? So like Jacobs was a dual meet. That does sound a little more nerve-wracking where everybody's watching you. How about you, Leslie? Do you remember your first time heading out there and what that was like?
Yeah, it was at Foster High School, and it was a duel, and I was with another brand new ref. So I'm glad I had that experience because it wasn't just me, but some other girl, and Bob was there. So I felt really scared, but I was like, this is the most perfect circumstance. So if I do a mistake, I think she's bound to make a mistake as well. And if it really is a big deal, then Bob's there to help us out. And I think the first couple of times I was definitely not confident. I probably had it like this for my signals. And I don't know, but after a couple more rounds, I was getting more confident. Like after 3 rounds, I was like, okay, this is pretty easy. And even after, Bob gave us a lot of critique, and I was like, okay, I think I can fix that. Like, these are things that I can fix. But yeah, I think I really enjoyed it, but it's definitely something that I learned quickly, I'd say.
One of the things that in our association, I have sort of a little network of other experienced officials. So when they go on their first assignment, there's somebody, we call them a mentor, who will go there in uniform, not to babysit them, but to be a backstop and to be sort of a presence, to give some feedback. If need be, like on rare occasion, it might be like, okay, they're going to step on the mat and go, hey, Jacob, like, here, you watch me for a match, right? Or whatever. Like, but they're there to support them, just the way Leslie's describing. It's sort of like, look, we got your back. I can talk to the coach. When Leslie was coming off the mat, I go, here, sit down. And I was showing her like little video and pictures from my phone to go, see that's what I'm talking about there. Right. So it helps them to be able to get through that first assignment, because after the first assignment, they go solo. Like, there's no mentor anymore. It's by rare exception that if somebody's really struggling, okay, I'll send somebody out again. But after that, they're on their own to like go find that middle school. Like Caitlin was coming from downtown Seattle, going out to Woodinville.
Oh, wow.
I think some middle school she'd never been to before, and find the place, find the entrance to the gym, whatever. Like they're just on their own. So like that's another thing. It's like we kick them out of the nest.
This is all a testament to the culture you've created, not just with your officials and how you train them, but with the coaches in your area, how they are being helpful and they're being understanding. And I really, with my experience, I don't see that happening very many places where, coaches are not as understanding of having young officials, and, the culture is just different. So before we move on, I want to read it. We got a few comments here. One says, thank you for all you do as refs. Officiating is a thankless duty, I imagine. So that's one of the things I'm trying to do on here on this podcast is kind of thank referees and highlight some of the things they're doing. And then Caitlin, it looks like you got a fan out there. Caitlin, the ref goat. Wow, that's pretty cool. Papa Jonathan, thanks for that comment. And then one more, we got a question on here. This is probably more for Bob. Do you find more officials having wrestling background or not having wrestled at all? And does it matter?
So one of the things that I would sort of feature in this panel here is raise your hand, the three of you, if you won matches at state or placed at state. Okay, none of them, right? Like, so the point being that you don't have to be like the world's greatest wrestler to be a great official, but wrestling background helps. Like in my spring program, I'm operating under the sort of the starting point that they're wrestlers. They understand the basic sport. And now I just need to sort of train them to the key rules like control and some key mechanics. And so they'll be able to sort of work that. So last week when I was training, I did have a person who had reffed other sports. He was an adult, but he he wasn't a wrestler, didn't really know wrestling. And so when we were doing the simulated match, like he's awarding a takedown, like, okay, no, that's not even close. Like, and he's just like throwing out points. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I realized, okay, like I don't really have time to teach you the sport of wrestling. This is sort of an accelerated deal. So I had to tell that person, like, yeah, if you were interested, like come back in the fall when I do a more robust training program. I can't work with you now. I need you to already have those basics and know it. But to the person's question, one of our officials who just recently retired, Ray Bela, who was a longtime official here, he's one of my peers. We started together, and he'd worked the state tournament, almost every year. Ray never wrestled. So his twin brother was a wrestler at Renton High School back in the day, and Ray would watch a lot of wrestling. Ray never wrestled, and Ray was one of the top officials in our state. So
yeah,
you don't have to have, but it helps.
Yeah, I mean, at least some sort of background where you watched a family member or you had a kid or whatever, or a sibling. Because I did get asked to evaluate some officials a little while ago, and I went and I gave some feedback to some, and there was one I couldn't give any feedback. I mean, there was giving takedowns on a mat return, so just not knowing basic rules, and so it was hard for me to say what to work on. It's more like, well, we got to learn wrestling first. So it is, I see it's probably more helpful to have somebody who has a little bit of background there. All right, so next question, we're going to move on. Jacob, talk to me about a highlight of your officiating career so far, because I know Bob has been, a lot of associations, they keep younger officials down for a long time, and they make them, I waited 7 years to do this, or I waited 10 years, so they have to wait 10 years. And so you guys have it great with Bob, because he does a great job elevating you and putting you in positions to succeed. So talk to me a little bit about what's your highlight so far.
Yeah. So actually, I'd say it's probably from an assignment that I had this year or this season. We have a larger, it's a 2-day tournament up here in northern Arizona. And it's a, I don't want to say like it's a prestigious one, but like it's a lot of the it's like highly competitive in terms of officials. And so we had one of the officials that usually works it just retired, and so I filled that spot this year. And they hope to have me back next year. They said hopefully they can make it work. But it was a lot of fun to be able to like be filling that spot in that into the high level tournament, 2-day tournament. So that was a lot of fun.
That's great. How about you, Caitlin? What's the highlight of yours, or possibly is your highlight coming up soon?
I think my biggest highlight is definitely coming up soon. I'm very excited to work the Mat Classic tournament. I think that's going to be a very, very neat opportunity. I'm going to learn a lot. But reflecting on past highlights, I really have enjoyed working the Santa Slam tournament every year that I've gotten to do it. I think particularly in 2024, working on the all-female crew, that felt exciting to me. I was really happy to be a part of that experience. And then going back a little bit further, it was honestly so exciting to me to work the Kent-Tahoma Middle School Championship when I was a senior in high school. That felt like a really big opportunity to me. And I felt really honored that I was invited to do that.
That's awesome.
So one thing I would call out, right? Caitlin will be officiating at the Mat Classic.
For those not in Washington, hold on. For those not in Washington, that is our state tournament. We call it Mat Classic. It's in the Tacoma Dome. So go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. So she will be officiating our state tournament. She's 19 years old. She'll be the youngest person ever to officiate our state tournament. The previous younger one was another member of our association, Kale Wojvodich, who 8 years ago, as a 20-year-old, officiated. Same kind of thing Andy was talking about when Evan Lee showed up for that regional, where people thought, how could they dare send this young guy to do the state tournament? And then he ended up ranking number 17 out of the 36 officials. So not only was you'd belong, like he was one of the top officials. And so Caitlin's going to go down there and she's going to do great as well and blow minds. But like as a 19-year-old and as a woman, like it's just breaking all sorts of ground here. So it's a landmark achievement.
That is cool. And speaking of Kale, he was on my referee ranking this year. He was number 1. And so what is he, like maybe 28 years old now? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's 28 now.
Yeah, so he's doing college stuff and he's moving up in the world of refereeing. So that's another testament to the what you're producing from your association, Bob. So really cool. Leslie, same question to you. What's the highlight of your officiating career so far?
Mine was definitely officiating at Kelso for Braided 64.
Oh,
And yeah, for those who don't know, it's just a big tournament with girls from all over Washington and even like Oregon, Alaska. And yeah, I never had the opportunity to wrestle there. And I was always so envious because I always heard this is where the best wrestling happens. This is even better than state.
mhm.
And I never got the opportunity, unfortunately. But being able to officiate there has been one of my biggest highlights. I mean, seeing all the women and how strong and good they are, it's definitely amazing to see, and to be able to officiate and be around their age. Hopefully they want to be refs, and even if they don't, I'm glad I got the opportunity to see such amazing wrestling from all over.
That is one of the biggest tournaments, the toughest tournaments, and that's getting real popular. So congrats to you. That might be actually tougher than the state tournament. You're right. That's cool. Next up, let's do a couple at a time here. So Leslie, go back to you here. What's the toughest lesson you've learned so far? And along with that, have you had some things that have contributed to that, or what kind of things have you had any mistakes where a coach was on you, or just talk about like the toughest lesson so far?
I think the toughest lesson is definitely taking criticism, especially from coaches. I think a lot of the times, if it's in the moment right after a match, they will be either screaming or even mad. But sometimes I'm like, okay, let me hear this. Like, as much as I don't want to hear it, I know to become a better official, I have to listen to that criticism. So I listen very intently, and sometimes it's not good. Sometimes the advice isn't advice. It's just saying whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes, even if they're mad, there is advice there, and it's just in the moment. And I understand that, out of all people, I understand that. So I listen, and after maybe a couple of minutes, then I think about it and think, is that valid? Is it in the rule book? And sometimes, even if I don't know, I go ask Bob or other officials what they think about a certain situation. So I think knowing how to take criticism, as much as it isn't, as perfect, just being able to take that and building off on that.
Yeah, that's great to hear that.
Point. I want to just say something real quick, Leslie, because that's part of the deal of officiating that sort of is a discouragement to some people. Like, you have to sort of listen to the crowd, listen to coaches or whatever. And it's not always positive, right? But like at the state tournament, this will happen when I'm officiating, and there's some coaches in the court. I don't even know these people. They're from some part of the state I've never seen. And then they're over there the whole time, like, like, and then after the match, I'll like go over there, after I raise their kid's hand probably. And I'll circle over there and go, you guys are really helpful.
Well, I wanted to add to what Leslie said there. I mean, what I tell referees a lot when they get upset that coaches are chirping from the corner or saying stuff, because I coached for a long time and I was one of those coaches. And I asked the referee, I was like, well, there's two things. You need to expect that the coach is going to fight for their kid, and that's okay. Like, they're going to be in the moment, and don't get upset when they do. They're going to say it's a takedown. The other guy's going to say it's not. And so they're going to be fighting for their kid. And the other two things are, you got to ask yourself two questions, like Leslie was saying. One, are they correct? Two, am I correct? Like, which one is correct? And then being able to, I like what you said, if you don't know, finding out. And so I think a lot of officials, young officials, even the older officials, they just pretend like they know stuff when really they don't. So I try not to argue something unless I know for 100% I'm correct. And if you don't know, you can tell the coach, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to look it up. So, but yeah, those are great insights, Leslie. How about you, Caitlin? What is the toughest lesson you've learned so far?
Yeah, I think the toughest lesson for me so far was something that happened this season. I had an injury on the mat at the SummerSlam tournament. And this is my first experience having like a serious injury happen on the mat. I've really never had a kid not be able to return from injury time. which was scary to me. And it was an unfortunate situation that I just didn't know to call as potentially dangerous. And now, obviously, I've learned from that situation. I've had the same situation come up since then, and I've called it without hesitation. But it was really just something that I didn't think to be looking for. And I think also sometimes as a younger official, it's really easy to get caught up in like who has control, like looking for the technical elements and not thinking about like, ooh, this kid's shoulder's going pretty far, this kid's knee, that looks kind of funny, something like that. And so I think that after that experience, I've gotten a lot better about looking for the potentially dangerous situations and trying to like keep track of, you know, the control and all those technical elements, and then also keeping in mind, you know, proper range of motion, those types of things. And I feel bad that I wasn't able to do that at the Santa Slam tournament, but I've definitely learned immensely from that situation.
Yeah, that's good, because I've learned, all of us learn from mistakes, like, and those are the things that actually build that memory in your brain. And so that's good that you have those experiences already and you can learn from those. I was talking to Bob on the last podcast. I missed a illegal hold on a kid's knee, and I was like, man, I was not even looking for that. I was looking at the head and I was looking for other things. And so next time somebody has an over scissors, then I'm ready to call that. So don't beat yourself up too much, because we all miss stuff, and you know that the good part is that you're learning from it. So that's awesome. How about you, Jacob? What's the toughest lesson so far for you?
Yeah, kind of similar to what Caitlin said. It's also injury related. I had a tournament where I had a wrestler pass out. It was another 2-day tournament. I had a wrestler pass out on day 1, go to the doctor that evening, come back day 2 and pass out again, both on my mat. And the second day, the coach was mad at me and he was livid. He's like, "You let the wrestler pass out, like this is on you." And I'm like, it really got to me. Like I was shook. I had to take like a 30-minute break, and I was really thankful for the veteran officials that were there with me, and they were like, you can't let that stuff get to you. Like, it's wrestling, it's a physical sport, like people are going to get injured, people are going to lose consciousness, like. And so I had one pass out since, and I feel like I handled it a lot better. It didn't really mess with my mental as much, and so it was a really good learning experience. Like, and some people also like just their bodies react different ways, and so it's important to know that a lot of things that happen on the mat, a lot of them we can control and a lot of them we can't control. So
Yeah, that is one of the hardest ones, whether somebody's getting choked or not, because it could be a perfectly legal hold, and for some, at some point it becomes where they can't. I actually passed out one time when I was wrestling because I was in a head and arm, and I bridged all the way over, and I was pretty flexible, and so I bridged all the way over, and so my arm was like cutting off my circulation, and I just flopped right over, and it was easy to tell that I had passed out. But if they're already on their back, it's tough. And so you got this catch-22 of, do I think he can't breathe, or do you want to stop this kid's move and maybe a possible pin, and you don't want to ruin his moment either. So it's hard to decide in that moment. So you learn from that stuff, and that's cool that you I've already gotten some of those experiences. You got anything to add to that, Bob?
Just that, yeah, I tell people this all the time, right? Like, judgment on safety is just one of those things you do have to learn through experience, because you don't know until you sort of bump into it sometimes, right? Like, oh, that is too hard, right? That is too much, right? So until you've experienced one of those events where a kid passes out or a slam happens and you didn't call it, and then you realize, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that was unnecessary for it. That was way too hard. Like, that's how you learn some of that stuff, unfortunately. And we do the best we can to protect the athletes. And this is just one of those areas where it does take a little bit of miles on the tires sometimes to get better at that. Because to Andy's point, you also, as much as we want to like protect them, we have to be careful not to just be stopping it all the time and just, ruining holds and moves because we don't have a better sense that, that's okay. Like that's just part of wrestling. That's normal range of movement or whatever. Like let it continue, verbalize, like make sure they don't push it any further. So that is just one of those sometimes hard lessons you do have to learn. And I can't teach you that necessarily. No, nobody can.
Yeah. Those are those things that we all learn from experience. I mean, every time I go somewhere, I learn something new, and I'm texting Bob all the time, like, hey, what's the rule on this? Like, and so I appreciate having somebody like him to call on when I need it. So hopefully you guys use him too, or you have somebody that you can rely on that supports you in those ways. So that's really cool that you guys are already learning from those things and seeing those things. Let's see. Well, next one is all of you are having some great success earlier in your career. What are some of the things you feel have contributed to that? And then you can kind of just talk about what contributed to that. How do you feel like you've gotten where you've gotten? Because most people that are your age, just be honest, they're not getting to do the things you get to do. And so talk a little bit about that, Jacob.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to give a lot of the credit to Bob. I mean, he gives us a lot of resources. I mean, as Caitlin mentioned, we have the jamborees every season. That I did one of those both seasons that I was back in Washington. And then now here in Arizona, we have a clinic at the beginning of the season. We go down, spend the whole day with all the assigners and then the AIA rules analyst. And so we just go down, spend an entire day down there, and go over literally front to back the rule book. So there's a lot of good things that our assigners and our league organizers are doing that give us a lot of the opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things I want to add to that is, it's you guys are the ones that are making sure you show up to that stuff too. So, we get a lot of young officials, they start reffing and we send out emails and we're supposed to have a training and we're supposed to do this and that. And I get that you guys are busy, you got a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of them just don't show up. And so if you want to be a good official, you have to put some time in that you're not getting paid for, and that's just one of those things. If you want to get better and you want to improve, you are going to have to put in some extra time. And so that's really cool to hear that you guys are doing that.
Just to sort of amplify your point too, Andy, like this is just a small thing, but it sort of aligns with what you just said. Like, as a signer, like I'm all constantly having to tell our group, oh, remember to get your certification done. Remember to do your postseason quiz, whatever that just came out, right? Like, remember to email me with this stuff, letting me know if you want to do this thing or whatever. So there's like, 1,000 details I'm always having to sort of run around and manage. And so in my role, sometimes like I don't share this with people, but I can get frustrated. So like, come on, crap. Like half of you haven't, I told you by Tuesday, end of day, and here it is Thursday. I haven't heard from half of you. Like, so yeah. I told Caitlin this, I don't know if you remember Caitlin about 5-6 weeks ago. Like it was one of those things I told her, everybody just December 15th, make sure you do this, that, and the other. And she's like one of the first ones to do it. And December 15th is coming along. And I told her, I said, you know what I appreciate about you? Like you take care of the little details. And if you want to be a top level official, you need to stay on top of little details like that. And you are, and that's one of the things that's making you a top level official. Because I have lots of other officials that are like very capable and they aren't taking care of little details like that. And it's sort of irritating in a way, but it's also just a sign, a signal that, look, if you're not doing those little things right, that's going to show up on the mat too. Like if you can't meet the deadline or finish the requirement or whatever, that stuff will show up in the way that you officiate as well. You're going to not know a rule. You're not going to remember some training or whatever. So, being on those details is important. And that is part of being a good official.
Yeah. And I've been told by a really good official, one of the things that he says is if you're not willing to get your signals locked in and your signals correct, it's hard to teach you much else when you're out on the mat. So it's really important to do those little things. How about Leslie, let's jump to you. Talk a little bit about your success early in your career and some of the things that have contributed to that.
I think the officiating community, I feel like there is a lot of unique situations that happen and I don't know the answer to. And what I always do is, even if it's a different tournament, a double duel, and there's like a little break, I try to talk to experienced officials and talk to them about the situation. And sometimes I try to reenact it. I'm like, okay, imagine they're both bottom and then there's this weird situation, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? What would you have said in that moment? Mm-hmm. And sometimes a lot of it is judgment. And I say, what's the reasoning behind it though? Like sometimes things aren't just straight up from the rule book. Sometimes it's just pure judgment. And I want to hear how they think and how they explain it. So if it ever happens to me, I can think, okay, I know my reasoning. I can defend myself if I ever have to go, for example, in a conference. So I think it's just those things where I want to hear more about experienced officials and what they have to say, because they've seen more and they've experienced this probably a couple more times.
I'll tell a quick funny story from I went down to the Braided 64 with Leslie and 3 other women from our association that officiated down there. So it was the sort of the late afternoon. We'd had a long day of officiating. You know how it is, Andy. You can sort of start to get a little slower mentally.
Yeah.
Like you're just dragging a little bit. So we were on a little break, and Leslie's and I hadn't been officiating in the same gym as Leslie, so I hadn't been seeing her, but she's like telling me, oh man, she says, and I'm going to tell on you a little bit, Leslie, just because it's kind of funny, but it's typical. Like we all experience this kind of thing. She's like, yeah, I was doing a match like just a couple of minutes ago where like the kid was like locking hands and the ref or the coach was yelling from there, he's locking hands. And I was like looking at it for like 5 seconds. And then finally it clicked in my brain. Yeah, he is so locking hands.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of stuff. But that's indicative. Like she does ask those questions. Like she's very transparent that way. That's what makes her, that's why she's accelerating in her growth so well.
Yeah, I was going to add what Leslie was saying is asking other officials and kind of what their opinion is and all that. But you might get 50 that say one thing and 50 that say another. I mean, me and Bob are on a Facebook officials forum, and people will say, was this a takedown or not? And a lot of officials say, oh yeah, that's a takedown, but they don't know why. And so if you're going to give them, I think you should ask these officials what their reason is for a takedown. How do you establish control? Is there a picture in the rule book of that situation? If there's not, then why is that control in your mind? And so it's best if you can give reasons why you say what you do. But a lot of officials are just like, oh, that's takedown. He's got this. And the reasons they give have nothing to do with what control is or what a takedown, is. So it's interesting. You're going to hear a lot of different things from a lot of different officials. So it's, one person tells you something, make sure you can back it up with the rule book or back it up with some language that it applies. So that's good stuff, Leslie. How about you, Caitlin? Talk about a little bit about how you've had success in your career and how what contributed to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think a really key piece of it is also just opportunity, and having the opportunities to experience a higher level tournament, even if maybe you feel like you're struggling a little bit, or you're getting heat from coaches. I think it's a good experience to have, and I think that in order to be a high level official, you kind of have to have the experiences of officiating high level wrestling. And it can feel daunting, especially the first couple of times that you work a tournament with, wrestlers who have been on the state podium, kind of things like that. But the more comfortable that you get with sort of having those experiences, I think the better that you're able to rise to those opportunities and feel comfortable officiating all sorts of different types of wrestlers.
Yeah, that's good. Appreciate that. Let's see, what Bob, you got anything to add to that part? Like how because you are elevating these kids, and my experience, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything, but just not every association is like yours. Like I was in my mid 30s, I'm in my 40s now, but I didn't get to do the state tournament until I switched associations, because another association was like, hey, if you're here, we're going to send you to the state tournament, because I've been doing national level stuff. I've been going to all these places, but a lot of associations, they just, they feel like I had to wait this long, so you have to wait this long. And then they're losing people because this younger generation, I mean, even younger than me, that's not how we're built. We're not built to wait 10, 15 years just because everybody else did. We're an impatient let's be honest. We get every information right now. We have a phone. We can look up anything right now. We don't need to go to the library and so I think you've done a good job of understanding this generation and giving people opportunities to build them up. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So the thing I would add to that is, yes, I do want to give them opportunity. Like I said earlier, we kick them out of the nest. I don't know. Like I talk to people from other parts of the country and other associations where if they ever do use like high school aged officials, they never let them on a mat by themselves. They're always like somebody like me literally on the mat with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm the exact opposite. It's like, I don't have time to have somebody like me on the mat with you every time. I need you to just go operate on your own. Like, and then they learn, through those experiences. But I always ask them every year, and it's validated every year. And I always say, normally, like, by the time you finished your second assignment, you kind of felt like you were in a groove, right? And they universally that, yep, like by the end of that second assignment, like it was fine. Like whatever nerves and, rough edges or whatever, like it was okay. Not that they're perfect, but that they could handle it. And then the other thing that's sort of different about like the approach that I take and when it comes to training and prepping people is more along the lines of what Leslie is talking about. Like I want them to understand the sport and understand the rules. And the key rule is control. Like I always tell people, if you understand the concept of control, it just unlocks the secrets of the universe in wrestling, because if they get the call, the calls they have to get right are the scoring decisions: takedown, reversal, escape, near fall. Okay. If they get those right, like 98% of their problems will go away with coaches. They could be out of position. They might miss some odd rule here or there. They don't really care as long as you're not, like, again, giving away takedowns that weren't earned or missing pinfalls because you're not even looking or whatever. Like, so I concentrate on helping them understand the most fundamental concept of control, just drilling that into them, because what you were describing when we talked to these officials across the nation about why is that a takedown, they are trained to situations. I train people to understanding, so that they will just be able to ask themselves the right questions. That they would say, well, is that restraining power? Yes. Is that a position of advantage? Not yet. When would it be? Well, if he would hook that leg, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Because, like, to your point, like we hear this a lot on that forums, like, let it burn. Well, if I wanted to like really call someone out, I'd go, okay, fine, let it burn till when?
Yeah.
what is it that will cause you to give it, right? Because that's the answer to the question you're looking for, is like, when are you going to say they have the advantage? And instead of me trying to train you to the 3 trillion different moves or situations so that you'll remember all 3 trillion, like I just train you to understand that concept. So you go, whatever situation I'm looking at, I'm just assessing all the time. Is that restraining power? Yeah, that is. Is that an advantage? Not yet. Not yet. Now it is. There's control. There's 3. Like, so that's sort of the difference in how I train people, is so that they can be like Leslie saying, like, I need to understand why I'm making the call. So if we froze time and you walked out on the mat and you go, Leslie, why are you giving a takedown there? Or why aren't you? She'll go, oh, because of this, that, and the other. Right.
Yeah.
That, and if you can do that, then this becomes a very straightforward endeavor. But if you don't train people to understand, it gets very complicated for them. They go, oh, I've never seen that move before. Oh,
right.
Is it a Merkel does he have to hook it at the calf, or that it was just hooked at the ankle? Like they're worried about like weird stuff instead of going, I don't know. Is that an advantage yet?
Right.
Yes or no. If it is, okay, great. Then he's got control. Don't worry about where it's hooked or whatever.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing to I got a comment here from Seattle Ryan that says we're the generation of instant gratification. Well, that might be true, Ryan, but I want to defend young officials for a second and give you an example of, look at the Seahawks. They're in the Super Bowl today and how old their head coach is. And I think he's like 38 and he got hired when he was 36. And so if we would have been 20 years ago, never, in no way would that have ever happened. And I think we're starting to realize that young people can get very good at things very quickly. And so even the baseball umpires, you've seen some of the best ones right now are younger. You've seen some of the best head coaches in the NFL are younger. Even the referees are getting younger and younger. And I think we're realizing that you don't need to get 20 years of experience before you can start doing something. Like, you can get good at something before that. And so it's just another testament to what Bob's doing, because it's not common. And so it's really
not
cool.
a blind, like, oh, they'll all do it. No, Leslie and Jacob and Caitlin have colleagues right now that were part of that cohort they trained up in that aren't at the same level they are. Right. And that's okay. Like I don't give them, Santa Slam, right? I don't assign them to the NPSL 3A tournament, like, because they're not ready for that yet. They still have some development to go. So, it's a preparation, it's an opportunity, but then it's also, a performance and a proven, experience kind of thing, that are not just like blindly saying, "Oh yeah, I'll throw any 18-year-old at any situation." No, that's not true.
Yeah, we're gonna get to like one last question because we want to try to keep this around an hour or so. But I do want to preface this question by saying I had to check, like I said before, I had to check myself with one of the officials Bob Turner sent and Evan Lee, and he has completely changed my outlook on this, because I'll admit I was one of the ones that was like, who's this young kid and why is he here? I spent so and so amount of years waiting to get here. We have these officials who are ready. And I feel bad actually, because Evan was sitting there in our meeting. He was obviously nervous, but we all like almost ignored him and like cold shouldered him. And I want to apologize to Evan for, I already have, but me and Evan, we've been doing tournaments together in Arizona now and San Diego, but I had to check myself. And so I appreciate Bob, you sending him and to change my heart and change how I feel about it. So, just before I ask this question, I wanted to say that because I can see how some of these other officials feel, because I felt that way, but it's not the right way to feel, because, Evan was ready and Evan did a good job. And I just feel bad the way that we kind of treated him when he showed up. We're like, who's this guy? But so I say all that just to ask you guys, and we'll start with Leslie this time. Do you ever feel like you're getting treated differently by coaches, wrestlers, or fellow officials because of your age or how young you are?
I feel like maybe I try not to notice those things as much because I feel like I'd overthink it. But maybe for the coaches, they're a little bit more on me. And then I notice that they're not really on other officials. But also in my perspective, I'm like, I just got here and they probably know these officials for many years. Sometimes they go up and hug them. They're like, oh, how's so-and-so? And I'm over here like, I've never seen you before. I don't even know the school's name. So I think there's that obvious, difference in time. And even with, it's just those like little things. Like, obviously I just got here compared to someone who was here for years, and I try not to take it to heart, but I think they've treated me like they would any official. If something's wrong, they're going to get on me. Okay. But they're not, I've only had a few instances where they're outright disrespecting me. And in those moments, I can't tell if it's because I'm young or because of what I did on the mat. But I try not to, take it over me. And actually, it was Jacob that helped me out. He's like, you can give a coach's misconduct if they disrespect you. Like, you have that power. And now, like, thank you for that advice, by the way, Jacob. But now I take that as, okay, I shouldn't be disrespected because of something that's going on the mat. And maybe they're taking advantage of that because I'm young, but I'm not going to let that happen. So it hasn't happened recently, but if it ever does, now I know that as an official, I have this power, and it doesn't depend on how young or if I'm a female. It's just, are you being disrespectful? I have the power to just. Yeah.
I want to add to what you said there about how you see all these officials hugging and they all know each other. And my first time I got to go to Freak Show in Las Vegas, I mean, I was the new guy. They're like, who's this guy that they let come here? And all these other officials have been there multiple years, and they're all hugging, saying, hey, how's it going? And I felt probably how you guys felt. I'm like, man, I don't, how do these people know each other that well? But you just over the years, you start to build that stuff. But that's good that you're not worried about it too much. And yeah, you can throw out that coach's misconduct, and I think that will back them off, because I think sometimes they're like a shark that smells blood. They see that you're nervous, they see that you're not willing to do that, and they'll just pounce on you. So keep that up. That's awesome. I'm gonna jump to this time, Jacob. Same question to you. Do you feel like you're getting treated differently by coaches, wrestlers, or fellow officials? And have you noticed any differences maybe from Washington and Arizona?
I wouldn't say there's a major difference between Washington and Arizona. I would say though that up here, like up in northern Arizona, it's a little bit more sparse, so it's a lot tighter community. So there's a lot, I want to say, like less like discontent, just period, because these guys see each other like every weekend, so they don't want to get on anybody's bad side. And that's from being from Seattle, where we have a lot of schools, we have a good number of officials and you don't have to go to the same school every weekend. So that could just be that factor. In terms of like being treated different, I mean, occasionally, like I'll get like a older ref who's like you said, like, who's this young kid? Why is he here? He doesn't know what he's doing. But I'd say that's very rare occasion. I don't think that's happened to me in Washington. And I think that's because Bob has created such a young program. Everybody knows, like, Bob's not sending just anybody out there. But down here in Arizona, it's happened once or twice where they're like, who is this guy? But in that, I understand it. Like, I mean, I'm new to the state. I know absolutely nobody. Like, it's a valid response. And the coaches really don't in Washington don't, as Leslie said, like, if there is disrespect, I don't really take it as it's because I'm young. It happens to everybody. So it's not really, I don't really see it as being targeted towards me because I appear more vulnerable. But I would say it is a little bit strange officiating wrestlers that are my similar age because they recognize it also. And so they'll like try and strike up a conversation. And I'm like, dude, I'm not your friend right now. Like, if you want to talk like after like when I'm on break or like after the tournament, and you want to just say like, hey, what's up? Like, what's your deal? Like, whatever. But on the mat, it happens a lot where they're like, they just try and start talking to me. I'm like, this isn't the time or place for that. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that until you just said it. Like, you're basically officiating your peers. And so I was, as far as, do you feel it from them? And that's kind of interesting you say that. Like, yeah, you're in charge right now and you're not here to be like buddy. So that's good.
I can so relate, Jacob. It happens to me all the time too.
Yeah.
I was doing senior night at Cleveland High School last week, and kid had a forfeit, and so I was like, hey, you want to wrestle me? So then like we shook hands, and then like he started like break dancing or something. So then I went into a break dance move too, and then we had this sort of dance off in the middle of that.
I need video proof of this. I need to see the video. Okay. Same thing to you, Caitlin, but I'm going to add a little bit more to yours since you're doing the state tournament here in Washington. So a couple things that we want to know. Do you feel like you're getting treated differently by coaches, wrestlers, or officials? And then any differences in Washington and Vermont and those same things? And then add on to that, what are some of the reactions from people when they hear that you are doing the state tournament here in Washington?
Yeah, great questions. I think that Jacob and Leslie have put very eloquently the same thoughts that I have about how I'm generally treated by coaches and athletes and fellow officials. I haven't really had any huge issues. I think that in Vermont, there's a slightly different culture, and I've noticed it a lot more here because there's just less of a culture of young people officiating. I'd say like I probably am about 30 years younger than the other people in our association, and it's also a very small association. And then I'm the only woman who's officiated in the state of Vermont. And there's not a separate division for women's wrestling in Vermont. So I think that it makes a little bit of a difference to like, there's just not a culture of women wrestling here. And so I think it's a little bit harder to be taken seriously as an official. And then, yeah, I've had a couple of funny experiences. Like I've had kids who'll be like, okay, are you set on bottom? And they'll be like, yes, sir. And then they're like, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Because they're just so used to saying yes, sir. And I'm like, it's okay. And so experiences like that. And then also sort of back to what Leslie was saying, I've had a couple of experiences where coaches have been pretty hostile. And then I've had other coaches come up to me later and be like, hey, that was really inappropriate. Like, you shouldn't let them talk to you like that. And I'm like, thanks, you're right. That was really inappropriate. I won't let them talk to me like that. And I think I probably need to get a little bit better about advocating for myself in that sense. But it's a work in progress. And then as for people's reactions to me officiating the state tournament this year, I think I have a limited circle of people who really know what it means to officiate the state tournament. So like my average friend, if I'm like, yeah, I'm officiating this really big state tournament in Washington, like, okay, like, that's cool, I guess. But they don't really have a sense of what that means. Of course, my family's been really excited about it. And then like my friends who also officiate there, they've been very excited about it too. But it's a little bit hard to relate that to somebody who's not involved in Washington State wrestling.
Yeah, I get that. So
Mhm.
when you get here, I'll be glad to meet you. I'll be there this year
Yeah.
too. So I don't know if who's doing what days yet, but definitely whoever's in your group, I'll talk to them and say, hey, don't be mean to Caitlin. No, they won't be. But no. But
Thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
I'm excited to see you out there and to see some of the fruits of Bob's labor. So let's see, Bob, you gonna add anything to that about what these guys are up to and how you've gotten them here?
I would just say that, like, I set the table for them, but they are the ones that do the study. They're the ones who have invested in it, and they're the ones making it happen. So they are given the opportunity, and these three are grabbing it along with others of their peers who aren't on this program right now. That like I said, I could grab 5 others. We have a young guy, Jesus Segovia, senior at UW, who will be on the officiating crew at Matt Classic as well. Like, these are young people they're the ones doing it. Like, in my training, we do not go through the rule book from front to back. I concentrate on the few rules that I think are the most important. And then basically I tell them, you need to study the rules. Like, that's something you have to do yourself. And they've taken it on. So like we were doing a training as an association a couple of weeks ago, and I always have these scenarios where it's like, okay, this happened. So what's the ruling, right? And then I call on somebody. And so we were going through some stuff that had to do with tournament kind of things, like things like coach misconduct or whatever. And so like I ask like some experienced official, and they might get the right answer, but then when I say, well, why? And then they can't really explain it from the rule basis. So it's showing me, I don't think you're in the rule book. Well, I put Caitlin on the spot, like she was zooming into the meeting, and I'm like, okay, well, the coach gets ejected for coach misconduct on day 1 of the 2-day tournament. And on day 2, you notice that coach in the corner in the semifinal round. What are you doing? And then she says, well, that rule only applies to the day that it happened. So it's okay that he's in the corner that next morning. Like, that told me, it was a little thing, but Caitlin, that told me you knew the rule. Like, you knew, you were quoting out of the rule that, that coach misconduct only applies to the day, not the whole tournament. Like,
right.
And so it's little things like that are what make these 3 good examples for everyone else, not just young officials, for all of you, that they are studying, they're working their craft, they're asking the questions. Jacob, like, that was his hallmark when he was here in the state. Like, he's always asking questions whenever we ran an assignment together. Leslie's the same way. I get, I know what they're doing, and they're doing it on their own. They're keep pushing, and they keep working their craft. So for whether you're young or, experienced, like, you all need to take that challenge up. Like, it's up to you to keep working your craft, seeking out that knowledge. Andy and I were doing that. That's why we're on that national forum. Like, we're always in dialogue with other officials. Like, we're trying to learn, we're trying to share, trying to get stronger. And it's not something where, like, I've been officiating 36 years. I don't say to myself, well, I'm there, I don't need to study anything anymore. Don't tell me anything. No, I'm having dialogues all the time with people about stuff because I'm learning perhaps new facets to something. So I'm really proud of all of them. Like, I would just my closing comment is, in officiating for 36 years, personally in the sport of wrestling, I've been in the sport of wrestling for 50 years now. Like, I've done a lot of things. I'm very proud of like a lot of my own personal accomplishments. But when this cohort from the class of 24 came through, I knew there was something really special about it. Maybe it was because my youngest daughter is a graduate in the high school class of 2024 as well. And there was something in me that said, the capstone of my career is going to be when I get to officiate alongside one of these people at the state. That is arriving in 2 weeks. That will happen. To me, like, that's the capstone of my career. I feel really good about the fact that already we have somebody from that cohort who will be at that level. And all my other individual accomplishments, I don't even dwell on those. I'm so proud of like the fact that we have these young people coming through the system that can do that already. And to me, that means I can step aside. Not that I'm going away or I'm going to be gone or anything, but I want to make room for them to be able to step in and be the lead officials that are the generation that these coaches are going to look at and say, yep, those are our officials. They're not young officials. They're not the inexperienced. They're just our officials. And
Yeah.
who they are. They're going to carry this sport forward.
Yeah. So just to finish up here, I just want to commend you three for coming on here. I appreciate it. But I will say that, yes, Bob has helped get you here, which Bob, you are doing such a great job and you're so good for the sport. And like you said, you care about others and you let others go instead of you're putting people on these platforms. But like you said, these three have put in the work. It's not just like you found a bunch of kids and you threw them all out there. They are putting in the work on the outside. So if you're a young official out there, you're not just going to rise to that level because of time and service. You're not just going to rise to that level because you've been there, longer. It's not a union, well, some places it kind of is, but you're going to get better by putting in the time outside of it and learning the rules and getting better without getting paid. And so, I've only been reffing, 7 years. And so even when I was 4 or 5 years in, I was doing national level stuff and, officials would be like, oh, I've been doing this 30 years. So, and they'll ask me how many years I've been doing it. And I'll be like, I don't know, just a few, because they look down on even guys like me because I don't have the time. But I've done so many tournaments now where it might be 30 years worth, So I encourage you three to just keep doing it. Officiating can be really fun or it can be really not fun. And if you make it fun and if you get good at it, it's a lot more fun. And so the more the more experience you get, the more fun it becomes. And so really appreciate you guys coming on and really I just want to send some encouragement and recruit people, all of you out there. Being an official is fun and I get to be a part of the sport that, I loved coaching. I loved coaching for a long time, but with the family, the grind of the season is long. It's every day. It's long days and it's always on your mind. And being an official lets me be a part of the sport still. And I actually enjoy it more because now I'm able to be friends with all the coaches and know them and root for them. And when I was a coach, I kind of hated all the other coaches because I wanted to beat them, So, that's just me. I know everybody's not like that. But if I can encourage anybody out there who's coaching or you're coming up as a young kid or even not a kid, but being an official is fun and it's great for the sport and it lets you be around some really great people. So
and to Andy's point, like if you don't know where to get started, just contact Andy and Andy will get a hold of me and I'll find the person. Like I didn't know where in Arizona, when Evan Lee went down there and someone else from his class went down there, like I had to find out who in Arizona or in Vermont or in Massachusetts. So if you don't know who to get a hold of in your area, I don't care what state you're in or what part of the state of Washington you're in, you know what? Ping Andy through the channel here and Andy will ping me and I'll go find somebody and I'll get you started.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just want to one last time. I appreciate you three for being on here. Good luck, Caitlin, at the state tournament. I'll see you there. And Leslie and Jacob, keep up the good work. I can't wait to see you out there. So thank you again, Bob. And thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Go Seahawks.
Thank you.
Yeah, go Seahawks.
Go Hawks. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening and keeping it real with The Real Ref Report. Don't forget to rate the show and leave us a review. And be sure to follow Andy on Instagram and YouTube at The Real Ref Report. Thanks again for listening as we make reffing great again.